from now. So 11:45, so say 11:45 to 12, so 12:45 to 1 p.m. We'll be having a question and answer discussion. So I'll be asking few questions which has been asked by the audience. So post that we'll have vote of thanks. Now I request Dr. Premambali ma'am from IH Karnataka. I welcome you, ma'am, once again on behalf of IH Karnataka and behalf of President of IH Karnataka and the EC members of IH Karnataka. I welcome you once again. I also welcome all the audience who are watching this live webinar from different parts of the world and different parts of the country. I welcome them also. I hand over now to you, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
Namaskar. This is my privilege and honor to be with you today, and I rather welcome all of you to be with me. And I feel that today the topic is human sexuality, sexual health, and sex education. As such, the sex education is very, very needed, but human sexuality subject, it is as subject, it is a thought to be very difficult, and it is also very uh, difficult to talk on this subject. But then you people will be asking that why me, why a woman who is talking on this subject. I also wonder that why I am dealing with this subject. Now, as Dr. Jugal Kishore has given a very long introduction, but in a very nutshell, I will uh, tell you that it is just a happenstance to be a sexologist and marriage counseling, which I never dreamt in my life. And I today, with that capacity, I'm sitting to you. The people think that I'm pioneer. People think that I'm specialist, but yet I will most humbly I will say that this human sexuality is a subject that I need another life to understand the human sexuality, because it is such a uh, subject which has such a vast range of behavior that it is very difficult to describe or to talk on this particular subject. And I would rather say that this subject, when I took it over, I was myself very hesitant that how to deal with, but it was thrusted upon me by my professor, Dr. Ed Holmes, Dr. Edward Holmes, who was our head of the department and professor of my department, head of the department at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, way back in 1960. And in 1960, I was the only girl who joined the subject to take up preventive and social medicine. Now it is called community medicine. And he asked everybody to uh, write for the thesis subject, and all my other colleagues told that this subject related to human health. But to me, he did not ask that which subject would you like to have, and against my name, he wrote uh, marriage counseling. I was neither married nor I knew anything about it, but I didn't say anything because students used to be very obedient during at, during that time period. So I didn't say anything, but I was so, uh, you know, upset that why this subject has been given to me. So I went to the library. Immediately I uh, uh, took out a book, and there it was nothing much written about it. And human sexuality, as per se, only Kama Sutra by Vatsayana was the only, you know, uh, uh, available to be read, but that was not covering still the human sexuality as a whole. So I started the work. I did start the work, but we're very hesitantly and very afraid that how I will question the um, patients and how I will. So, however, I took up this plunge and started my thesis work on this subject. And uh, gradual by and by, I learned from patients, and I would say my patients were my teachers to teach the subject to me. So I learned it, and now I am convinced, and rather I feel that this is the most important subject, most important aspect of human life, which has been kept secretive, for which people have been suppressed, and for which, uh, you know, academically, even in medical education, it was never taken any note of it. But I think that this is the most important subject aspect, as I would say that now I feel very comfortable and to talk on this subject. I don't feel hesitant because I take it, it is another, any, like any other system, like any other system in the body, that um, this is also one of the important system. And so I, it is, had been neglected, but what I found in my work for the last 60 years, that there are lot of maladies created by the human beings themselves, that this becomes a human malady of mind and behavior, which comes in front of us as a, as an abuse or as a crime, but the reality and the factual aspects yet remain hidden and kept to only to the self and to the persons themselves. Now, I would say that this is a vital urge, and it is a saying. There is a very beautiful saying that this is the sex is a vital urge which dreams, which sleeps in minerals, dreams in plants, awakes in animals, and become conscious, conscious in man. And this consciousness in man, it becomes a bliss, or if not bliss, and with the wrong notions and social mores, taboos, which have been put more on this, and it has become, uh, you know, curse also. As every day we read in the paper rape, 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 and every day in the newspaper at least two, three, uh, you know, rapes occur and which are highlighted in the newspapers. And as you have already known about the Hathras case and all that, these are the just maladies of human behavior related to sex. So therefore, it becomes a very, very important aspect which needs to be given due attention, and it needs to be understood properly, and it needs to be uh, provided a proper care, and it needs to be added into the educational system, and also even so as a social reform on the subject, it has to be added. So therefore, in today's topic, uh, uh, by itself it's a very vast topic, but I just make it a very capsulated form and give you very little, uh, actually throw some light on the subject. And as I said, that to understand this subject, I need another life to understand this. However, I will make you to learn a bit of it, and by, you know, um, I won't make it a big lecture or academic lecture on the subject, but I will simplify, and simplify to an extent that everybody understand it, to feel comfortable and to remain at ease, and while you are listening to this subject or this topic, you should be also be very at ease with me and feel comfortable, because taking it as it's a natural and as it is one of the very important aspect of human uh, beings and human life. Now, the most, uh, I will tell you one story. When I was child and small child, and one day my uncle, he said that there was a uh, book called Kaka Sun. Kaka in Punjabi is called uh, for a adolescent boy, uh, with affection. When you call an adolescent boy or young boy, you male child, you call Kaka. So Kaka Sun, and it was a book written for by grandfather for the grandchild, in which he has given some instructions uh, to the child. And I have not seen that book, I have not read that book, and that is not available either. But I uh, that topic was very catchy. At that time, it was went into my head, that Kaka Sun. Kaka Sun was a very kind of a pleasant kind of title. So when I could never dream that today I will be addressing to all the young boys and young girls. So let it be a Kakasun and Kakisun. Boys, young boys, you also listen, and very comfortably, and the girls also should be very comfortable, and the parents also should be very comfortable for this subject. And I could never dream that I will be talking on this subject as Kakasun. So now listen. So now this particular subject which we are going to deal, it is a topic which is human sexuality and human sexual health and sex education. Let me talk first on human sexuality. And human sexuality is not very different sexuality than from the other living beings. But the only difference is that this consciousness in human beings, which is related to the sexual behavior, that makes it is complex. So therefore, this subject, I always say that it is so simple, so easy, and why it has been made complex. It is so uh, uh, very uh, easy, but why it is made difficult? It is very divine gift to human beings, but why it is made curse? It is a very beautiful and blissful, why it is made curse? All these things, come to our mind, that why we should, have uh, this kind of feelings about sex, and why not the good aspects of sex are understood. Though if we see the whole human uh, pool, people enjoy sex, people do relate to sex, and people, uh, you know, uh, recreate and procreate through sex, but yet it is.
Prema Bali ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. The screen has reduced, I think. So I can see it has come down.
Uh,
Jugal Kishore sir, can you
while
please help?
Jugal Kishore has gone, I don't know how to make it.
No, you are connecting from mobile phone, ma'am? Is it
Adi,
laptop or mobile phone?
it's by iPad.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
Gururaj.
I think I can.
Gururaj,
Sir, are you sharing your screen, sir? 1 second, ma'am.
No, I'm not sharing. I'm not sharing. I
Uh,
think
can you
मैम
exit?
थोड़ा सा
No,
थोड़ा
no,
सा
1 second,
इधर हो
sir.
जाइए, लाइट मूव करिए, थोड़ा सा लेफ्ट को. हाँ हाँ, बस
No,
बस
no, no,
बस.
sir. 1 second, sir. 1 second, sir. 1 second. Mandal, sir, can you please exit? Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead, ma'am. Please go ahead, ma'am.
is it all right?
Yeah, fine, ma'am. Go, ma'am.
Huh? It is okay?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
So I would say that this human sexuality if we take it, it is natural, it is very vital, and it is important, and it is important for human beings as a recreation as well as procreation. And this is the wonderful gift, divine gift God has provided to human beings. But when it is not taken into that light, so all the maladies which come up, it is like, and the all behavioral problems, all the other problems which crop up, they do not also come up on the surface. So many problems, people suffer so much with these problems, and they are like dust under the carpet. And you won't believe that how many uh, diseases, the psychosomatic diseases, are, you know, come up because of the problems related to sex, because of their uh, because of their uh, the uh, sex which is kept hidden, and people feel guilty, and people feel dejected, people feel depressed, and even to the level of they end their life with suicides. So therefore all these very drastic maladies which they come up due to sex, and we have to uh, take care of that by understanding the human sexuality per se, that it is a very natural, normal, and the normality of its function and purpose of human sexuality has to be understood in a very right perspective. So now I won't talk on human sexuality as a big, otherwise it will become a very big academic lecture, but I will only just take into the organs into consideration of structure and function, and I'll just name them because I'm going to refer them later, the diseases related or the problems related to those particular organs. Now, if we say male genitalia, that is penis and testes, the testes lie in the scrotal sac, scrotum, and then vas deferens, and uh, this is the external genitalia. But there is who controls this, the whole orchestra of the hormones are there, and that is in the pituitary gland, there is that controls, and the gonadotropins hormones which activate the testes, and then it comes. But now this all the human sexuality, uh, upsurge of this is during the adolescent health, when the teen child enters in the adolescent age, the sudden, you know, upsurge of this growth and development takes the children, girls and boys, both, you know, they show their own outward behavior towards their growth and development. The boys, they some of the boys, they become very, you know, suppressed due to the social reasons, and the girls, they become very shy, and then parents, they don't understand why their behavior is becoming like different, so they remain quite unconcerned. So therefore their knowledge and information about sex, they get it from their peers. Nobody talks to them at home very rightfully. So this is one of the aspects where the children at this age need a great help, and the girls particularly, when are at 12, 13, how they actually their breast is only two sides, there's vaginal wall, the cervix, uterus, ovules, both the women. And these are also, so the first thing which they are doing is that along with this growth and development, children, boys, girls, they are, and they do not know how to manage their urge.
Ma'am, ma'am, your
That
screen has hanged, ma'am, so we can't see
not
anything.
able to understand what how to
Prema Bali, ma'am,
result
we
friends
can't see
well
anything.
proceed.
Prema Bali, ma'am,
What's that?
we can't see your screen, so it I think um, it is showing still image.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah, still image we can see, but still image. The video is not coming up.
So just want to say yes. So I
Can you rejoin,
think so.
ma'am? Can you please rejoin? I think we have video issues here.
Video is not why what is
Can you rejoin?
that action?
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me? Prema Bali, ma'am.
But there's
Yes,
no
ma'am.
network.
Yes, ma'am.
Network is lost.
Yeah, network is the issue, I think, from your side.
Shall I
So
call some?
I can see you, but network
So
is
shall
not
I?
that clear.
Can I call somebody? Can you wait?
Yeah, I think you need to rejoin. Yeah, please go ahead, ma'am. Now you can go ahead. Now you can go ahead. Please go ahead.
So there is something wrong with the network. Huh?
Yeah, right. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So I I was talking on human sexuality. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
So I was talking on human sexuality, and if we, the children are made to understand, and I will tell you only uh, the boys, they get very much upset and by their growth and development, and particularly when they compare their at this time of their adolescent age, they compare the notes with their peers. And what happens? So if the peer tells that this their size of penis is small or it's small, and then they feel very upset, and on due to that they get so much worried and they get so much depressed that they don't know how to do it, and sometimes even to the level of depression they reach. So this is, we have to understand and watch the child uh, growing adolescent boys behavior, and then very compassionately talk to them. We have to be very compassionate with them at this age, and you should understand that what is happening. And sometimes there's some kind of, there is little problem in the structure which makes a great difficulty for them. For example, I'll tell you one patient came to me in the clinic immediately after the marriage, that they belonging to very, very rich family, and what happens that that boy could not perform sex with wife because he was feeling pain, and that girl made such a hue and cry that she said that he's an impotent, and that boy was feeling that why this kind of blame has come on him. But when I examined him, to cut short the story, it was a phimosis, that the foreskin was not going behind, and so uh, he was getting pain during the intercourse. So therefore, he was made to feel so much ashamed of himself that he was, uh, embarrassed to an extent that he was not ready to accept the wife, because he was made so much embarrassed amongst all the relatives and friends that he's and labeled him as impotence. So the thing is this, that I mean to say that the examination of the organs is also very important during that particular period and of a growing adolescence, so that there is no difficulty. Sometimes what happens that testes, they become undescended because at the when child is uh, growing, when small child is there, many times it happens when the child cries, the testes get sucked in, and they go to the inguinal canal, and then they come back. But usually, many times it happens that they don't come back, and occasionally, sometimes it happens the testes don't come back and they remain in the inguinal canal, and testes scrotum, they don't reach the scrotum sac, and they become undescended. So undescended testes also become a problem. So therefore, it is also very important at this age that one should examine the testes, all the organs properly, so that they should grow properly and rightly, to avoid the problems later on in the marital life. So what I mean to say, that this age is very important, that they should be told about uh, uh, their structure, and that should be examined also properly, and they should uh, be assured that they are normal, and
Madam,
then come.
Madam, can I ask you one thing, Madam?
Yes,
Madam, I am Professor Deshmukh. Madam, I am Professor Deshmukh.
yes, yes.
Can I request you to please share with us your uh, cases of adolescent children, Madam? Any of your adolescent cases
Yes,
that you have come across, Madam?
yes. Uh,
The teenage
Many
problem.
adolescent children, they, at this age, adolescent children, they have problem to that their genitalia may be normal, but they feel that it is not normal. The structural, their doubts are about their organs, that they are not fully developed, and then they get very upset because they compare with the peers, and peers, if peers penis is a little longer, that other person will feel that it's smaller, and he will get worried, and they compared those kind of problem. Then another kind of problem is that they get an urge, and then they need to masturbate, and the masturbation is considered to be a sin in our social, where mores and taboos are there on masturbation, and masturbation is considered to be very bad, and they feel that it is bad, and so they don't. This practice of masturbation make them very feel guilty, and now comes that they get an urge, and they want to masturbate. They do masturbate, and then they feel very guilty about it, and that guilt complex troubles them to this extent that they become sleepless, they uh, they get insomnia, they get depression, and they feel guilty, and guilt complex, that is also a problem. Then about the nocturnal emissions, that nocturnal emissions are also natural, but because that is what they urge is there, and if uh, in the morning they are in the company of the girls and they see beautiful girls, and then they see the movies and all that, and that the dreams, they get dreams, in which they call it in ordinary language wet dreams, and that nocturnal emission, the nightfall they call it. So with that, they get so much worried about it, because they feel that this is bad, this should not happen, and the loss of semen is very bad, and they feel very, very, upset about this loss of semen, and they feel that it is a weakness. They get weakness because of the loss of semen. So that is also. Now the normality is taken as abnormality. This is about the adolescents. Now the comes to these normalities, when they consider abnormalities, that becomes a very, very great problem of their minds, and they feel very much upset and even uh, uh, leading it to dejection, depression, and even sometimes they attempt suicides on this. So therefore, this is also very much required to be told to the children that it is very normal and natural. Now, another
But
problem
nowadays,
is they are
madam,
they are
nowadays what's happening is instead of masturbation, they are going for sexual intercourse and the exposures and experiences.
yeah. Now, another thing is this that uh, uh, this is related to very socio-cultural, aspects, socio-economic status also. The children from the poor families, they have different kind of problems. Children from the rich families have different kind of problems. Children from the middle class is now coming to the poor class. There is not much suppression, but it is a sort of uh, you know their behavior when they grow up. They see in the small houses the husband and wife, their parents, they are having relationship, and so they try to experiment it, and they do experimentation with their you know girls, their neighbors, and all that. And so that is a childhood experimentation, maybe a sex play. But later on, they get into premarital sex that is, considered socially prohibited. And also, the there is a sort of impending fear of pregnancy that makes them, uh, you know, mm, inhibitive, and that becomes a problem. But in middle class, it's a suppression to this extent that they are told categorically that it is the masturbation is wrong, the premarital sex is wrong, the having relationship is wrong. So they suppress their desire to this extent that they try their methods to control it. But when they can't control it, they do it, and repeatedly they do it, then they go into depression that they are doing something very bad. And uh, premarital sex is not that common in the middle class as it is common in the lower class and the richer class. Rich children are very not at all inhibitive. They see these movies, they see these, um, you know, uh, these days the magazines and all these kind of things. These days they lot of exposure to you know have relationship, and the boys and girls relationship is very becoming very common in the higher classes and educated classes, and particularly in urban children. So that is also becoming a problem these days. So these kind of things in the children are there. And now what I was telling, that normalities are considered to be abnormalities, is also has to be put into the sex education, which I will come later. So now, um, the coming to the sexual health per se, as I relate it to, our any normal activity of other organs, probably the systems, I relate it to hunger and uh, appetite and thirst, as our nutrition is required for the body uh, development. And similarly, in in uh, for the sexual, it is the urge and the lust. There's a difference between urge and lust. Urge is there, and urge is, controllable, or if not controllable, manageable. And manageable as permissive is that masturbation is not bad. They can do masturbation, as Alice Havelock says, that 99% men, they do masturbate, and if 100 says he doesn't, that means he tells a lie. So therefore, this is very important that the role of masturbation is told. But now what happens, the patient which I get, they do masturbate, and then they develop a complex that they are getting weak. Their organ is becoming weak because of masturbation. Their organ is getting distorted or you know smaller or stiff or loose because of masturbation. So this is also very myth with the people, and you have to ask them to, if it is masturbation, they have to do it. They have to moderate it. Not all the time thinking of urge and satisfying urge through masturbation. There are many other, uh, you know, uh, ways to manage this urge and put their mind in something else and other creative activities rather than all the time thinking of uh, urge. So this is about the normal behavior which is considered abnormal by them. Now, for example, girls also, for menstruation, some girls, they come with this complex that this menstruation is a curse, and menstruation is, you know, unmanageable, and once they feel very bad, and then they are complexed during this period about menstruation. Then later on, because they are complexed about menstruation, later on in their married life, they find it very difficult and they become very hesitant in having a very normal or good relationship with their husbands because of the wrong notions ideas put into that. I will give you an example of a girl. She was she got the first periods. So, you know, as they portrayed, that whole family got so much upset. Oh, this little girl, she got into this, very early at the age of 12. And this is so bad. Now it is so, she will become very weak. Now, and she should not have this stuff. She got complex to this extent that when she got married, she could not develop a relationship with her husband for the 4 years because she thought that because of this menstruation she will get pregnant, and this is not good. So then she had to be counseled because this is very normal and you should not keep that. So like that, the wrong ideas put at this adolescent age, and it is not managed properly by the parents or by the peers. So therefore, the problems occur, and these are the problems of the normality. But now coming to the problems of abnormality, which they make it a, as I said that now the sex crimes, sex assaults, molestations, and rapes, they are occurring more and more because uh, the inhibitions, the suppression which was there on the people, now it has turned into aggression. Why it has turned into aggression is because the society which was very suppressive, now because of the lot of exposure of the media and about the lot of the way the magazines portray this sexual relationship, and the way peers started behaving together, they think that it is their right to do whatever they want to do, the way how they want to do. So this urge is which was suppressed, it is now aggressively used, and they don't bother about premarital sex. Uh, you know, uh, they think that it is their will that they can have it. And now many patients come to me that with this particular the adolescents with their premarital sex. And some girls also come as pregnant and they don't feel bad about it. And then this has come up now, live-in relationship. With that also, these adolescents, right from adolescent age, they start having relationship with the girls. And now you would be surprised to know that these days the girls and boys, they feel complexed if they don't have their girlfriend or boyfriend. Now they feel that this is something deficient in them that they don't have a girlfriend or boyfriend. At the age of 15, 16, they start in the school this boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, and they get into relationship. And, you know, uh, the problems of sexuality are man-made, and very only probably not even 5% of the problems of sexuality are due to defect and disability in the organ. They are only self-made problems, and it's a behavioral problems, and it is a thought which are converting into different direction. So therefore, it is very important to come to this, that we have to understand how to manage the adolescents and how to uh, make them realize that it is normal, and how it has their sexuality has to be functioning in a in context of social system, and what is good and bad, why all these things have to be taught to them through sex education. Now, sex education, is very, very important, but I would say that, you know, still people have not understood that how the sex education should be introduced, or how the sex education has to be given. The parents are so naive, they're not naive for their own self, but they are naive how to talk to their children about it. They feel hesitant, or they are not frank, and they are not compassionate in talking to them. Now, in our saying, there is a saying, and which is of course uh, a rural kind of saying. uh, Rural people usually say कि जब बच्चा लड़का बड़ा इतना बड़ा हो जाए कि उसका पाँव, his foot starts fitting into the shoe of his father, the father should consider that he is his friend. The father and son should, at this adolescent age, should become friendly, and father should become very compassionate and very friendly to the growing child, son. And similarly, the mother, when the monarchy sets in, the daughter, she should be become very friendly to the girl and the child. Now the question of and she should be, in a friendly manner, she should talk to the daughter. But now, you know, this is also very important, that these days uh, uh, girls, they want to uh, uh, the gender identity which develops male and female child. When I did my research, it was at the age of 8 or 9, children become aware of their gender identity. Way back in 1960 or 63, the children became aware about their gender identity at the age of 8 or 9. And now it is at the age of 5 years, the girl knows she's a girl and boy knows boy, and they imitate as male and female, and as a mother and father, and as a play they play. You must have read in the newspaper that in the newspaper that 6 years old or 7 years old boy had tried to have sex with the girl of 5 years, and the complaint and FRI is registered. But I think they should have understood it is the background of the children, and it is a child's play, not a rape. They don't know what is rape at that age. So the rape is much later, and so therefore, at the younger age, children have play, but now the gender identity, with the gender identity, children these days, as it is precautious, now the children become very aware of the sex, and they started experimental as premarital sex, and they enjoy premarital sex. Now, when I did a study, the premarital sex was only in 12% of population, and now it is more than 80% of the population has premarital sex. So therefore, we all have to sit together and understand that what is right and what is wrong for the society and for the children and for their welfare. This is very important. Now, coming to the all this, which also has to be introduced in sex education, that the diseases which is caused by the illicit sex, that is uh, the sexually transmitted diseases like syphilis, gonorrhea, and AIDS, and uh, herpes genitalis. These all are the diseases which are because of having a sex with the wrong person, who and out of wedlock, or otherwise. These days marriages are there even at the younger age. Now the children are coming with the this STDs. So they are, and that is from the low class families, and they don't know how to protect themselves. So therefore, that is also to be understood very, that it is a coming up malady of our progressive societies.
Prema Bali ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. We have 2 minutes left.
Yes.
So after 2 minutes, we'll take up question and answers.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. You can go ahead, ma'am. You have 2 more minutes to conclude.
Now, coming to the sex education, as I was talking to you earlier, that in sex education, we have to keep 2-3 things into our mind. That sex education, we have to develop right modalities, and we have to, in sex education, it has to be tapered according to the age of the children. I feel that sex education should start from home. Parents should understand how to educate, how to tell their children, because there is a difference between information, sexual information, and sex education. So therefore, sex information may be wrong, but sex education can't be wrong. It is positive. So therefore, first we have to start it from home. Parents should understand that they should be compassionate with their growing children, and when they grow, all categories of parents, even rural parents, even the urban parents, or the middle class, or the rich class, they should understand themselves, and according to their placement, they should tell their children very compassionately that what is right and what is wrong. Right does not mean that they should be suppressed and they should be ordered not to do, but they should be very compassionately, they should be told that this is your growing up, and this is your duty towards your own body, and this is your sexual health. It is very important. With the right person, you should, at the right time, you should have relationship and develop relationship, and this is from the parents. Now I will tell you very nice, when my daughter was about 8 years of age, so she was, I was reading a book, but she came running to me and she said, Mom, how the children are born, and from where did I come as you? So I started telling her that it is like, as we get plants, we sow a seed, and then as we normally we tell. So she was not trying to agree with me. So I was holding a book in my hand. I said, can you read this book? She said, no. I said, well, uh, you can't read this book because you are not learned to read this book at this moment. When you will grow, I will tell you everything. So when she got menstruation, I told her everything very nicely. What is her role and responsibility towards herself and her body and her dignity and her prestige in relation to uh, her sexuality. So similarly, parents should be doing like this. Similarly, fathers should be doing like this. But then coming to this, I feel that now that people say that sex education should be taught in
Prema Bali
schools.
ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. Can we go ahead with the question and answers?
Yes, yes, sure.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So we got almost 6 questions from the
Yes,
audience. Keeping in see time is a constraint part here. So keeping the time in the mind, I'm going to
yes,
ask the questions briefly. So there's a
yes.
question coming up from a parent. I want to be a sex educator for the students, so that they always have a healthy attitude towards sex. Can you tell me how to go ahead with this, so that taboo has been removed from the mindset of the people?
Well, first thing is this: to be a sex educator, uh, I would like that you should. Uh, uh, One is aware about own sexuality, but you should, when you are talking to uh, the students, you should not uh, put your own morals into the you are telling the students and becoming sex educator. First, you should learn as a free mind that the growing child growth and development, and when the growth and development you learn, then their sexual behavior, what is normal should be, what is wrong and abnormal would be. You should be learning that at this adolescent age, these things are normal, very normal with the children. As I said earlier, that masturbation is not abnormal. Masturbation to be regulated, not all the time indulging in masturbation, and nocturnal emissions are normal. You should be very compassionate and you should be very at ease telling to them. First thing, your own attitude and aptitude should be there to be a sex educator, and you should have compassion. You should have very nicely you are telling them and compassionately to the children so that they become very friendly and understand what you are saying.
Okay.
And you should learn the normal structures and their functions, and then how the behavior comes up, and in the how the children should be behaved, keeping the social norms into the mind, and the consequences of wrong things that like rape and all that. This is crime, this is punishable, and you should one should not indulge it. That is very comfortably about the crime and the normality and wrong.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Thank you very much. We also have one more question coming up. Why now also we hesitate to talk about sex education with adolescents, especially I've seen see, this is my personal opinion also to you, ma'am. Most of institutions in the college or in the schools level, right? They don't encourage to talk about sex education, as well as they don't even implement the curriculum, sex education curriculum in the syllabus. So what is your opinion? How can we tackle this problem?
I think it is high time because I'm 1965. I'm you know recommending that sex education should be there because previously the marriages used to occur very early, and children, grown up children used to enter into marriage immediately during the adolescence or immediately after the adolescence. Now the marriage age has increased, and people have to, understand about their how to manage their sexuality properly and positively. So therefore, sex education, as whether you call it, whether under the name of moral education, you can put sex education, and it should be introduced it is high time we should introduce, because the way society is behaving, copying the West, which is not the norm with us in our country. So therefore, it is, should be, we should not inhibit ourselves. First, our own inhibitions should be removed from our mind, that this is a normal system of the body which has to be nurtured properly. So
Okay.
therefore, that should be introduced in the schools, and the parents also should learn, and teachers should be trained to talk about
Okay.
it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your valuable inputs on this question. So there's one more question coming up. Parent is just putting a request. Who should teach at home? So is it mother or father to take up the responsibility to teach about sex education or awareness about sexual?
I don't, you know, as earlier I said, that mothers should be talking very freely to the growing daughter,
Mhm.
and father should be very compassionate and and telling very frankly to the growing son.
Okay.
But you know, in very educated, highly educated families, they talk very freely, they think very freely, they think very ultra mod themselves. So there is no harm even when father talks very nicely to the daughter, or mother talks to the son very nicely. But usually, I would recommend, it is the duty of the mother, and for the daughter, and for the father, it is the duty of the father to for the son.
Okay.
So
Okay.
therefore,
Got it, ma'am. Thank you. So I have one more question. Interesting question. So, in your experience, what is the major barrier for parents to build awareness of healthy sexual health?
now I would say that the barrier of the parents is that to which segment of the population they belong to. The parents from the middle class, particularly middle class, they are very much suppressed because of our social norms, values, and mores and taboos. All, they only applied in the middle class. But in the poor class, they are not, that much mores and taboos are there, and so is the in the richer class. So therefore, it is very important. First, they should understand, how parents should not be inhibitive themselves, and they should be very free with their children, and they should be very friendly with the children, growing children, and they should be very compassionate. And if parents are very compassionate and friendly with the children, not only their sex will be managed, but they will be managing the children, and with a tender loving care, as we call it, TLC.
Okay.
Tender loving care, if they get it from home, for many other things also, they will
Hello.
friendly.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, m- Dear moderator,
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir. You have a question? Manoj, sir. Okay. Ma'am, I have one question, ma'am.
Yes,
So, this is a personal question from my side.
sir, Dr. Gurraj,
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Dr. Gurraj,
Yes, sir.
I couldn't hear.
Dr. Gurraj.
What is?
So, please go ahead, sir. Manoj, sir,
Yes,
I can hear you. Go ahead.
yes,
Okay, ma'am.
yes.
So, my question is, at what age we should start giving awareness to the children? At what is the right age for the parents to talk
Yes.
about sex?
It's a very, very, very good question. Now, I would say that as my personal experience, eh, through my work, I would say from the age of 5, children start asking questions about this uh, pregnancy, about the mother-father relationships. So, in context with, first a group, I will make it 5 to 10 years of age, their questions or their curiosities are different and very simple and innocent. Very simple and innocent from the age of 5 and 10. they should be only gender identity, about their gender identity. They should be taught not by suppression but by liberation. And for then comes the adolescent age, which is according to WHO, it is defined from 9 to 19 years of age. Here is the a very important age group which is we are tackling, and that is adolescent age. And in this age, very important, one is their growth and development for the body. So body image is also very important to be tackled, and as such, because they are very much concerned about the body image, children. And now time is not permitting me, because at this age the children usually, they're very much worried about their body. Boys are growing, uh, it looks that they are disproportionately growing, but they are not actually disproportionately growing. That is the hormonal upsurge which is making it so, and their secondary sex characters come up, and for that also they are concerned. Then their sexuality urge is coming up. For that also they are very much concerned, and for their other aspects of life, like their skills and all those kind of things. So at this 9 to 19 years of age, parents, as you asked about the parents, so parents should be very wise and open and compassionate to talking about all the issues, and rather they should make it a storytelling. uh, when you talk to children and they listen properly, and they will make very friendly with the child, so that they listen and understand and comprehend about their own self, because child at this age remains own in wonderland. They think that their imagination, their impulses, their reactions about their own body and their relationships, they all come up, feelings come up at this age. So therefore, it is very important that at this age of 9 to 19, which is a threshold from the childhood to the adulthood, to the youth.
Okay.
So they should be
Okay,
covered
ma'am.
very, very,
And
very.
doctor,
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Doctor, Dr. Gurraj,
Yes, sir.
Dr.
Please go ahead,
Gurraj,
sir.
1 second, Dr. Gurraj. Madam, since you are talking about parents, what is your opinion about Electra complex and the Oedipus complex, madam?
Yes. Now,
Since you are talking about parents,
yeah. Now
we
this
have
is
got
so.
Electra complex and also Oedipus complex.
Yes, and Fedra complex. Oh, now all these, this is becomes an abnormal situation. Freud himself was, suffering with this Fedra complex, that he was, have for mother, he had very, very abnormal feelings, so why it comes, it is also these kind of complexes, they are not genetically complex, they are, these complexes is situational, circumstantial. So the children, what they see, many some houses, that child, if child in childhood and very, see that people, or the husband, the father is behaving very badly with the mother, so he gets so much attached with the mother, so much attached with the mother, that he start loving her in different relationship. Patients have come to me that the children, grown up sons, even to the verge of divorce, this kind of complexes have bothered, that a boy, male, married, male, he liked to sleep with his mother, so which was very bothersome to the wife. So this kind of complexes occur because of the wrong relationship or maladjustment of the mother and father, and these complexes come in the growing child. So therefore, the parents should be very wise enough to behave in front of the children.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for your wonderful answer. There's a last question from my side, ma'am, and last question from the audience also. In fact, there's a doctor from a private. Jugal sir, can you unshare your video? Jugal sir, can you unshare your
Okay.
video? Okay, thank you, sir. So, Prema Bali, ma'am, there's a last question from my side.
Yes.
So one doctor is asking how to start in the primary health care centers, how to start adolescent awareness center. So is there any guidelines, is there any specifications provided by the medical colleges, especially private medical colleges, they want to contribute themselves in opening these centers in the primary health care centers. So what is your input for this question?
Again, I would say it's a very good question because uh, though the sexual problems or sexual aspects or sexual problems, they are very personal, and but unfortunately these problems from personal problem to it becomes an intermediary problem, which becomes a real problem, and then it becomes the end, a very abnormal problem. But what happens that it will reach to the people or to the public or to the law at the end stage. The intermediary stage is where the patient problem has arisen and simmered for some time, and that simmering yield to some kind of reaction, and that reaction also is not understood by the doctors. Many psychosomatic illnesses come to the doctors, like ulcerative colitis, like asthma. I have many cases to tell you about the uh, problems of uh, where the underlying cause is sexual problem. So therefore, doctor is a must. I appreciate the psychologist efforts and sociologist effort, but sociologist efforts and psychological efforts will not serve the purpose because the underlying cause has become a complex to this extent that it has taken the shape of a disease.
Ma'am,
And
Prema
that
Bali, ma'am,
disease,
I think I have to put the question in a different way. So now there's a doctor is questioning you how to start adolescent awareness center in primary health care centers. So is there
yeah,
any
this
guidelines?
is that's very important question. Right from primary health center, I would reach it to the even tertiary level. The primary health center is usually in the rural areas, and rural areas have different kind of uh, the problem of rural areas or children has to be addressed differently. Here the family and the workers, those who are working uh, uh, in the primary health center at the local level, they must understand the problems of the adolescents, or then the clinic should be established in the primary health center. And in the primary health center, the doctor who is attending over there, he should be very familiar with the problems of the growing adolescents, not only in the level of that learning the physiology and anatomy and growth and development, but their adolescents' mind, adolescent behavior, adolescents' problem in the society or in the community. They should understand very comprehensively,
Okay.
and then they should
Got your
work
point,
in
ma'am.
the
Ma'am. Now there's a. I'll give one more input. Last input. Uh, so how does the private medical colleges can contribute to the primary healthcare center by setting up adolescent awareness center? So is there any will they get any help from the government? So private medical college institution can join hands with the primary healthcare center by setting up this awareness center.
well, primary health center, every medical college has to have their private primary health center. That is whether private or government,
Okay.
for the teaching and training purposes. So I think the private medical colleges have more free hand to set up their own system and
Okay.
develop their own clinics in the primary health center. So they can do at their own level to set up the adolescent health clinic, or you can call it a family health clinic, any name you want to give it, and to cover adolescents also. So
Okay.
adolescent health clinic can be developed by the primary health and private medical
Okay.
colleges, and they should introduce this at their own level. And then when actually I feel when the private colleges would come up with this idea and they will develop a role model and a model, I think government will take it up for themselves also,
Okay. Okay.
which
Thank
is
you, ma'am.
usually happens.
Okay. So, ma'am, last question. We'll end this session. So, what are the government initiatives, central government or state government, whatever you have the knowledge, right, from your experience background? What are the initiatives taken
Well,
by government to create awareness among parents or to create awareness among students, adolescent students, in terms of sex education?
well, I would say, to my disappointment rather than my happiness about it, all many things, many specialties are being developed, many things are developed so much. But this particular aspect of human behavior, that is the sexual behavior, that is the adolescent needs of their sex education or sex information or whatever you call it, is neglected. There was a call from Medical Council of India to medical colleges to suggest some new courses or some inputs from the medical colleges. So it came to institute also, and that was circulated to professors also. To those professors, I was also got the information that every professor should contribute about their. So I said that sex education, from my experience of my clinic, I knew that it's a very vital problem. So I suggested that sex education should be introduced. But then at that time, my director said that no, the sex education we teach in the family planning as reproductive health. Oh my God, reproductive health is something else, and sex education and sexual health is something else. And the problem created by sexual health is some they're ranging from ordinary depression to dejection to suicide. Oh, that is not considered, and they have not done it. And government, and my since 65, I'm telling this that this should be introduced. This should be uh, very much introduced in the medical colleges, but rather in medical colleges, rather every college, every school, every family health center, community centers, rather the parents, this is, and teachers, and in teachers education, this should be taught, because this is a very much, you know, human malady of human behavior
Okay.
and human mind
Okay.
and behavior. This should be taken into
Okay.
consideration
Okay,
very
ma'am.
seriously.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. So I have one proposal from as a secretary of IIH Karnataka. This is Guru Raj, joint secretary of IIH Karnataka. My proposal to IIH main body, I request Dr. Jugal Kishorji, and you are the founder of IIH. Can we give a proposal to Government of India to implement sex education as a compulsory education at school level, at college level, and at university level, and especially teacher educator level, right? And we know that we have a syllabus in medical colleges to train the doctors and nurses, and also the couple of nursing colleges, they have joined this live session. So probably even nursing college faculty members also can undergo this kind of sex education training program. So we as a body, right? So we are a non-profitable bodies, right? So I request Dr. Jugal Kishorji and Dr. Prema Bali to take this proposal and give it to Medical Council of India or to the our Government of India, Department of Human Resource Department, right? So who manages all the universities and who plans national education policies. So national education policies 2020 already it's been circulated, and I don't know how much importance or weightage has been given for sex education. I have gone through the policies, but there is no mentioning of sex education. Unfortunate. There is no inputs taken from the doctors, right? And agencies like Medical Council of India to include this sex education as one of the part of the curriculum or syllabus. Probably going forward, so from the IH point of view, so we can give a recommendations to the Ministry of Human Resource to implement sex education awareness to university students and also Department of Education, like teacher colleges, right? Teacher training colleges, because they are the main stakeholders who go forward and interact with the adolescent children. So that proposal, I would like to give it right away from Jugal Kishore sir and also to you, ma'am. So I thank Dr. Prema Valli ma'am. I also thank Dr. Jugal Kishore ji for giving wonderful inputs and a speech about IH and also introducing Dr. Prema Valli ma'am. Now by this, I would like to end the session. I thank all the EC members of Karnataka, IH Karnataka, and also I thanks a lot. I thank Dr. Mandal sir for giving me opportunity to take this as one of the lead program from the IH point of view. It's a good program. So we are coming up with more web series in the coming days, and I request all the audience to make a note, subscribe our YouTube channel, and also I request request all the medical colleges to be active on our platform, so that we can also give opportunities for other speakers to come and talk about adolescents problems and adolescents issues. So we are the non-profit body, so we give opportunity to all those who are involving with adolescents education, adolescents problem. So by this I would like to conclude this session. I once again thank all of you for joining this live session. Audience, those who are joined from the YouTube channel, I also thank them for taking your time, 1.5 hours. We don't know how we spent. So I take this opportunity and thank each and everyone. Happy Saturday and Sunday. It's a long weekend. So hope to meet you in the next webinar. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.